Hey, I'm Jade Keogh.
And hello from me too, I'm Grace Seeley.
We both play for the Millwall Lionesses and are sponsored by the No One Likes Us talking team.
Why not sponsor one of our teammates just like they do?
To find out how, just email kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again, kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
In your email, say who you want to sponsor and we'll get back to you with the sponsorship details and what to do next.
This is all you have to do and it will help us to get back to where we belong. Thank you guys.
Now, enjoy our Millwall fan show from No One Likes Us talking team.
Come on, Mir.
Hi, Bethany Warren here, and you've joined us for the weekly Our Millwall fan show with the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team, which is broadcast every Friday evening. Enjoy!
It's the third show of 2023. I'm your host, Johnny Burrow, and I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin, and Jeff Burnige with me.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Some welcome news on Thursday was 17-year-old Romain Esse signing a long-term contract with the club. His cameo appearances with the first team have been very positive, and he looks like a great talent for the future. On the same day, we said goodbye to Besart Toppolajo, who Bromley assistant manager has praised on this show since he joined Bromley on loan. He's now joined them permanently for an undisclosed fee. That said, it was a loss by a single goal to a much improved Middlesbrough at Teesside on Saturday. The result dropped us out of the playoff spots for now. Fans had mixed views, ranging from thinking a certain person should possibly go, or on the other side of things, to thinking we were unlucky. Now, to my panel, Mr. Robinson, what did you make of the Millwall performance this weekend?
Well, I'm certainly not in the getting a certain person out bracket, I must admit. The games in the Championship, Johnny, are so tight and so close, and they normally swing on one or two things. And I thought Middlesbrough was going to be tough because Carrick's got them playing really well. I don't think we've done too badly against them. We all know where our problems lie at this moment in time. It's just creating things. We've all got our hopes have been pushed right up because of the way we played at Watford. But I don't think we played that bad at Middlesbrough. It just wasn't our day for in this division. If you get yourself in front, it's very hard to get back. And Middlesbrough got their goal with a little bit of luck going their way. And then it was going to be tough for the rest of the game for us. It didn't help with Jake Cooper going off. But listen, I'm not too down-eyed. Middlesbrough are going to be up there, I think, with us fighting for that playoff spot. So it's not as bad a result as some people made out, I don't think.
No, I agree with you, and I think you're right. They've looked a cracking side of late. Stan, on that point, just how good a job is Michael Carrick doing there?
Oh, excellent job. Excellent job. I mean, when Michael Carrick come in there, it was, to be fair, it was a bold appointment, I thought, by the chairman. But then, in fairness, the chairman's made a few bold appointments in the past. So, he's not right to do that. And because, Michael Carrick come in, it was going to be his first managerial job. And from what I understand, he's got them playing the way that he played football. And they play the way he believes the game should be played. I heard an interview with Pep Guardiola. And he was talking about Michael Carrick, right? And he was talking about him when he was a midfield player. And I tell you what, he put him in the class of Iniesta and Xavi. That's how he rated Michael Carrick. Now you don't throw them sort of things about, and because his team will play that way. And from my point of view, that's the way you should be playing the game of football anyway. I looked at the stats, and they had most of the possession. And because that then tells me, while you've got possession of the ball, you're controlling the football match. No question about that. And that's what they've done. But listening to a source the other day who I fully expected to be going on about get a certain person out because he said it before. And I then expected him to start going on about the game and how bad we was and whatever. And I was very pleasantly surprised to say that he thought we was a little bit unlucky. But playing against teams, they control the football, and we've got to master that, because until we do, we're always going to be there to be opened up.
To hear Stan via Guardiola there talking about what a good player Carrick had been. Jeff Burnige, I'm interested from your point of view. On that note, are there any particular standout former Millwall players that one day, or even current Millwall players, that one day you'd like to see come back and be manager at the Den?
Well, I was not expecting that question, Johnny. But just my comment on the Middlesbrough game, if I may, was the only problem was the goals for column. We're not scoring many goals, although the Watford game was a total exception, wasn't it? But we're asking a hell of a lot of Tom Bradshaw, and we do need reinforcements in the forward areas, probably particularly wide, now that Tyler Buer is injured for a month or two. Who I'd like to see come back, I'm not looking any further ahead than Gary Rowett at the moment, Johnny. There isn't a vacancy. I don't think one is imminent. So, no, I haven't turned my thoughts to that at all.
Well, a politician's answer, but entirely fair enough. And it sounds like, from all of you here this evening, that actually you're still very much on Team Rowett, which is great to hear. We will take a break there, and we'll be back shortly with our first guest for the evening. But for now, let's listen to Debbie Julians talking about our sponsor, G&M Motors.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by family business G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham in Kent. They are Millwall fans too. They've been Honda dealers for over 50 years. At G&M Motors Gravesend, you can purchase a new Honda. At both Gravesend and Meopham, they have a combined range of over 150 quality used cars and ex-demonstrators to suit all budgets and lifestyles. They also offer a comprehensive range of repair and maintenance services to ensure your vehicle stays reliable, safe, and retains a higher value with trust. G&M Motors, Gravesend and Meopham are dear friends of the Julians family. From Lenny to Debbie, and also our Millwall Fan Show.
I'm your host, Johnny Burrow, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. Many thanks, of course, to our sponsors, G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham. Interesting for me listening to that, by the way. I'm going to go with the fact that it's just a coincidence that the second I'm no longer on the show regularly, you get a financial sponsor, and I'm not going to take it personally. But there we go. I would have gone for it anyway. Our first guest on tonight's show is well remembered as saying, Tim Cahill took my limelight. He's also remembered for letting a certain Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo score when maybe he should have been marking him in the FA Cup final. He joined us on a youth training scheme appointment from Saltdean in 1998, and he played 261 games for us and had kept the bench warm on a further 12 occasions. He also became a Barbadian international player whilst with us. He then departed to the team that defeated us in this season's FA Cup for £800,000. He signed for a team in Croydon next and failed to return to the Den, but headed to New Zealand, where his success in football continues to this day. Let's welcome the manager of the Samoan women's national team and Christchurch United. Hello, Paul Ifill.
Hello, fellas. How are you?
All right, Paul.
Hello, Paul. Lovely to hear from you. Lovely to hear.
And yourself.
Paul, lovely to have you with us. Before I let the panel chat with you, congratulations on the Christchurch United Awards this last season. Can you just tell us what the team achieved?
I'd been kind of appointed to, I suppose, take us to the next level. It was a club that, is a club that had a lot of sort of historical wins. Many years before, they were the National League champions, sort of year after year, and it was the norm. And they hadn't won a title in 26 years, and came in with a new squad, new coaching sort of team around me, and we won the league for the first time in 26 years. So it was
Wow.
pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
That's brilliant. It's Jeff here, Paul.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm so pleased to hear you've made a success of your family's move to New Zealand, and obviously combining the men of Christchurch with women in Samoa. As you know, I'm a great fan of women's football, always have been.
Yeah.
And I was delighted to hear about you taking that job in women's football. Very enlightened to do that. How did it come about? What do you think the challenges are ahead?
It came about from probably when I retired from football. I moved to a place called Masterton in the Wairarapa in New Zealand, and I just started sort of my own academy, and I was coaching boys and girls of sort of between 11 to sort of 16, and then I was approached one day by a mother of one of the girls, and she said, "Look, the girls just don't get looked after enough. Would you coach my daughter one-on-one?" And I said, "Yeah, no worries. Let's start." And that led to her bringing a few friends around, and it was me coaching 3 of them, then it was 5 of them, then it was 8 of them. And the end of that sort of first year and a bit, the mother said to me, "Would you coach them in a team if we could get that together?" And I said, "Oh, look, I've never really thought about coaching a girls or women's team, but I'm not totally against it." She did a lot of the legwork with the local club, Wairarapa United, where I'd been coaching men and playing, and sort of one thing led to another, and I found myself the head coach of the women's team. And from there, we had a really good season. The season before that team had finished, I think, bottom of the league, got 2 points, 2 draws, let in 86 goals, scored 6. And the following season, we actually somehow finished second in the league. We just pipped really late on winning the league and made the quarterfinal of the cup. So things went well pretty quickly for me, and found that I really enjoyed coaching women. Fast forward a few years after doing that and being an assistant for Capital Football, which is kind of the federation, one of the federations here. And I was sort of known as a women's football coach, and just dabbled in the men's, really. That's how the job with Samoa came about. I was kind of shoulder tapped by somebody I'd worked with many years before, who was the new technical director. And he reached out to me and said, "Would you be interested in taking this job on?" And I felt ready to step up to the international level, and took it, and didn't really realise at the time kind of what it would mean, but probably one of the only coaches in world football that's coaching an international team with women and coaching I wouldn't call us a national team, well, a national level team with the men. So it's quite unique.
Paul, it's Stan here, mate. How you doing? All right.
Hello. Good, thank you.
The last time you were on,
yeah,
you spoke of Paul Shaw and Kim Grant having an influence upon you. How did they help your progress?
Yeah, they were just 2. There was more of Ricky Newman. There was a load of older lads, and probably most of the fans around that time were not, big fans of the team that we had at first team level, and they weren't great, not great league positions, not great performances, but they probably paved the way for a lot of us younger ones to come through. And you kind of learn to be professional. Like Paul Shaw was a great professional. Kim Grant probably he liked a party and a night out for sure, but I was too young to be involved in any of that. So he would drive me to a lot of my training sessions. So would Ricky Newman, and you could just kind of learn to live in a similar fashion. Ricky, like I said, was a fantastic professional. He picked me up on a daily basis for probably nearly 2 years, and I was gutted when the club sold him. But I've spoken to Stephen Reed and Timmy and all the guys, and we all talk about those guys that were senior to us, sort of paving the way and giving us an opportunity. So the club and the owners and the staff at the time were great in bringing us through, don't get me wrong, but a lot of those senior players had a big hand in just putting an arm around the shoulder, because you've got to remember, a lot of us had come from different places. Timmy's come from overseas. I'd moved up from Brighton as a young 17-year-old, not understanding anything really about professional football. Hadn't been in a normal academy like most of them, and I didn't know how to live like a professional. I remember going into games and I'm still eating a 6-pack of Bakewell tarts the night before a game and drinking Coke. And when you're young you can get away with it, but just being taught a little bit about nutrition, about how to look after yourself better, how to hold yourself, that you're always representing the club. So they were good in all those bits, and I don't think that was necessarily noticed by the fans or even sometimes the staff at the time. And it was only later that you realise that you never really had an opportunity to thank those people.
Hi, Paul. It's Ted here.
Oh yeah.
Hi, mate. All right. Can you just pronounce that team again that you played? What was it? Where what?
Oh, I probably don't even pronounce it right. It's Wairarapa. I've lived there about 8-9 years, and I still don't say it right. It's Wairarapa.
What? Oh, that sounds. Oh, yeah. That's New Zealand for you.
Wairarapa. Wairarapa United. That's what I used to play
I
for.
did read that earlier, and I thought I haven't got a clue how to pronounce that. That's proper thing. It's not like anything you get around Bermondsey, if you know what I mean.
No, that's right.
But listen, mate, I've been waiting the last couple of Christmas for a book to turn up, because you're also an author, aren't you?
No, I'm not quite. I'm not an author yet. We're close. We're really close. What happened was, so when I retired, me and the guy who's doing it, who's a journalist over here, we got together because I couldn't walk. I'd ruptured my Achilles and I was almost just on the sofa every day. So we cracked on, did a load of it. And then I started coaching, and the coaching just got in the way. We just didn't have time to catch up because we both lived in different spots. So then over the last year or so, we've connected again on Zoom, and we probably just need to. It sounds like a long time, but it's not. We need to go probably the last 5 years of my coaching, which will take probably 2 or 3 Zoom sessions to do, and then it will be released at some point this year. So I'm massively hopeful that we get it out by Christmas. I mean, if we don't get it out this year, I'm probably just going to pie it and leave it because it's going to be too long, but I'm hopeful that it'll be up by Christmas.
I'll have my hands underneath the chimney this year waiting for it to drop down, mate. But,
no worries.
There's another thing I wanted to, when you played in the cup final, mate, which you can't not speak about that cup final.
Yeah.
I noticed you were sort of lining up opposite Ryan Giggs, is that right?
Yep.
How much of him did you see?
For a little bit. Giggs was mostly my side, and I had Marvin
behind you, yeah.
Yeah.
Bless him. That was a bit of a shock for Marvin, I should imagine. Not only being in the cup final, but being stuck out and right back, looking up and seeing Ryan Giggs coming towards him.
I think it was a shock for all of us. You look at the names on the team sheet that day. It was ridiculous, and we'd spoken all the time about just trying to stay in the game until half time, and then see if we could cause an upset in the second half. And I think that's what, when I look back, disappoints me so much that they scored 44 minutes in, and
who scored that goal?
Ronaldo.
Was it your man?
Oh, it depends which way you look at it. Yes and no. He was my man from the corner, but it wasn't a corner. It was actually, I thought we were going to break away, and we actually lost the ball again. And it went back out to Neville, yeah. And I switched off, didn't go back in and track. But I always look at it and think that's unfortunately the type of player I was. I was looking to get on the breakaway. I was thinking if we break here, I'm going to be the one to take us, 50, 60, 70 yards up the pitch. That's what I did. And sometimes I got it wrong, and I got it wrong on the biggest stage. And the thing is, we didn't know. The other thing is, we didn't know who Ronaldo was back then. We talked about him in the lead up to the game, and we honestly, Wisey and Ray were calling him the young Portuguese lad. We were talking about Giggs and Van Nistelrooy and all these famous names. Roy Keane. He was just a young lad who'd done okay that year in the Prem, and obviously, to see what he went on to do. The other thing I always say as well, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd have gone and marked him. He'd have still out-jumped me and headed it in the net anyway.
yeah, true. It's just a shame. When you think about that game, it was a shame. If we'd have just got to half-time, I think they might have started panicking a little bit.
I think so.
Because they was expected to just run away with it completely, wasn't they?
Yeah, so I'd watched the video, a couple of times. I showed my girls. They weren't around then when I was in the cup final, so we watched it back, and they both commented that if we had VAR, it probably would have ended 1-0 because they think that the goal, one of the goals was offside, and the other one wasn't actually a penalty because the David Livermore actually makes contact with the ball. So, I don't think we'd have been too far away anyway. We didn't create enough chances, in my opinion.
So what you're saying, Paul, is we should have replayed the game, or
I think we should replay it now. I don't think it's now.
It's interesting that you should say that, Paul. It's Jeff here again. I've also watched that game back, and you're only the second person that's ever claimed that one was the penalty wasn't a penalty and the other goal was offside. I've thought that, but the fact of the matter is we scored 0, and I don't think it would have changed who won and who lost. But that was disappointing that should happen. But all Millwall fans remember the semi-final.
That was the big one. That was the big one for sure.
It was a huge one. Of course, you played a very big part in that. You probably showed your family that as well, because you run with the ball, cut in, have a shot. I think it came off the keeper, didn't it?
Yeah, hit his chest. I hit it straight in his chest. I probably panicked. I should have just rolled it in the corner.
And
Hit
then,
it, just tried to leather it,
as he
and Timmy
did so many times, Timmy materialised on the edge of the
from nowhere.
box. And if you watch his run, some instinct has taken over, because it isn't a straightforward run. He kind of anticipates it, and it's a goal that will go down in everyone's memory. That one, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. With most people would leave me to it. Do you know what I mean? But Timmy is always thinking, what if? And I think he's done that his whole career, and that's why he's been so successful. Well, one of the reasons he's been so successful.
Paul, it was the season 99-2000 when you played 42 games, and only Tony Warner and Tim Cahill exceeded that by playing 51 each. You netted 11 goals that season. 2 of them came at Scunthorpe, when we recorded our biggest away win of the season, 4-1. Do you have memories of that game, and how did it feel when becoming a regular player in the side that season?
Yeah, I think I'd played 15 games the year before, and sort of mostly off the bench, and I scored in the last game of the season, I think, at home to Pearson, and I was hopeful that I'd have a good pre-season and go into the next year as a starter, and I didn't. And I was very erratic in front of goal. I used to just absolutely leather everything. I'd done that as a young lad, and it seemed to work. And then going into the pro game, it kind of didn't. So, Rhino and Macca, in particular, had worked on a lot of finishing after training with me sort of throughout that pre-season, the first few weeks of the season. Then I think I came on, it might have been against Colchester, playing on the left, cut inside and scored a goal. I think it was a winner. Then I played the next week, or came off the bench the next week, scored again, and then I was in, and I kind of just didn't look back from that point. I think I got 18 or 19 assists that season, and 11 goals. But I remember the Scunthorpe game really well, because I think I scored a header, and I was terrible in the air for someone who's just over 6 foot and should be decently. I was awful. And it was something I practiced, and then decided it was a waste of time, because it was never going to happen. But I'd pop up with probably one a season, and that wasn't a bad one. That was the first time I'd ever scored a double for Millwall, so it's one that I remember pretty well.
Was there a goal you scored against Cambridge, if I remember rightly, that you cut in and
that was a header.
Corner?
Oh no, there was the Cambridge hat trick.
Cambridge hat trick. That was it. Yes.
That was a left footer. That was a left footer.
Left footer into the top corner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that one. Yeah, that was brilliant. That was a hat trick as well. I don't think you scored another one, did you?
No, it was my only one. I got one for Barbados a couple of years later, but yeah, it was my only one. Like Neil Harris had the rights to all hat tricks, I think, at the club. So to get one was quite a thing. I mean, I remember Neil had about nine match balls by that point, so I was my one little match ball didn't really stand up to that, but it was a nice moment.
Paul, just still have that match ball?
I do. Yeah, I do.
There is one thing I'd like to ask you about how you came to join the club, because we have heard from Dennis Burnett explaining what happened there initially, because you had actually been on trial at West Ham, I think. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Dennis took me to West Ham first, actually. And I went and did really well at West Ham. We played Bishop Stortford, and me and a friend of mine called Carl Southwell, we played up front together for West Ham, and we'd been at Saltdean together, and we beat Bishop Stortford. I think it was 7-1. I scored a first half hat trick. He scored a hat trick, and I was taken off after 60 odd minutes, and I was thinking, I've surely done enough here to be, at least a second trial. And a young lad called Joe Cole came on the pitch and just absolutely lit the place up. I think he was 2 years younger than me. So I think I was 16, he was 14 maybe, or 15, 13, whatever. But he was so good, and all the coach I was sat next to the coach, and all he was talking about is Joe this and Joe that. And I just thought, I'm no chance here. I mean, we were different positions, but he was clearly not interested in anybody else. So the game finished. Dennis spoke to him and he said, look, he did okay. We'll invite him back for another game. So went back for the next game, and I think we were playing Leyton Orient at West Ham's training ground, and it was a really, really close game. It was a hard game, and just after half time, I think it was, or just before half time, I got the ball again on the breakaway, and I beat 3 or 4 men, sort of slalom my way through and smashed one into the corner. And it just so happened that the first team had finished training, the West Ham first team, and they saw me do this and must have known I was a trialist, and they were singing "Sign him up, sign him up, sign him up." So quite a funny moment. And the team that day was littered with I think Michael Carrick was there and Rio Ferdinand for the youth team. So I finished, and Dennis spoke to the director of football, I think it was back then, and they basically said I wasn't better than what they had, and Dennis got into an argument with him, and basically was trying to sort of stand my corner and said, what's he meant to do? He's come and scored 4 goals in 2 games. He's clearly proven he's good enough, and they just said, no, look, we just don't think he's better than what we have. So off I popped back down south, and Dennis said, look, I'll get you in somewhere else. Just keep doing what you're doing. So I started playing a lot more men's football for Saltdean, and then I think that's when yourself, Jeff, and Bob started coming to watch my games, and then from that moment, being offered the trial, off I went and trialed, and Jeff will probably tell you, my trial was terrible. I was so bad. Played in a reserve game against Crystal Palace, and I think they had some good players in that team, that's for sure. And we got beat, and I just kept getting knocked around, and I was just so far off the pace. And with about a minute to go, I went through on goal, and it was my one chance to show what I could do. And I thought, right, it was one of them where you pick up the ball at halfway. I think it was a back pass. So I had so long to think about what I was going to do. I'm going to go around the keeper. I'm going to chip him. Everything went through my head. And as I got there, I thought, nah, forget all that. I'm just going to whack it. And I went to hit it, and the ball just hit a little bobble. Missed it by a mile, fell over. It was horrible. And went and got changed after the game. Went up to the boardroom, I think it was, and my dad was there, and he gave me he's a Caribbean, a bit of a hard ass, my dad, and he gave me a hug, probably the first hug of my life from him, and it was one of them hugs to say, "Unlucky son, like you messed that one up." And I think that's when Bob and Jeff and it would have been another member of staff came in and basically said, "Look, we're going to offer you a deal," and I was flummoxed. I actually asked. I said, I don't understand. I said, I was terrible. And they said, oh, look, we've been scouting you for a number of weeks. We know what you can and can't do, but we just wanted to see what you do if you had to step out of your comfort zone and what your work ethic was like. And, you kept giving the ball away, but you'd win it back. And then you give it away again, then you'd win it back. And you give it away again, but you were not afraid of giving it away and putting the effort in, and we can coach you the rest. And that was it. You offered me a deal, and I had one little decision to make, because I'd always supported Newcastle United. And they'd actually been monitoring me, and they'd offered me a trial. So I remember on the drive home with Dad having to chat about I badly wanted to go to Newcastle for the trial, and he was like, "Look, son, take the offer on the table. I think this is going to be a club where you can grow and develop and get into the first team at some point." So Mum and Dad were right on that one.
I was going to say, the rest, as they say, is history.
Yes.
Funny to think what would have happened if you hadn't, whether it would or wouldn't have worked. It's strange the way
I probably would have just gone on to have a non-league career, being honest, because I think sometimes it's just all timing. I wouldn't have been, in my opinion, good enough, or Newcastle might have wanted me more polished, whereas Millwall at the time, struggling a little bit financially, probably needed to bring young players through. It was just a perfect storm, and then you turn up on day one, and Tim Cahill's there, and you become firm friends, and then you got Stephen Reed. We had a really, really good youth team, so I think it was timing, and guys like Jeff and Bob knowing what they were doing with this. I don't want to blow too much smoke up Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, dangerous game. I can hear his head inflating.
Let me come in there. When you played in that reserve game, Paul, the decision had already been made. Because it was Bob's decision, but out of courtesy to Rhino and Macca, they'd never seen you play. So the decision had already been made. And one thing you've not mentioned, which you might have to revisit, is one of the reasons that was right at the end of the season, that reserve game.
Yeah.
And at that stage, you'd played over 100 games of football that season, and you were knackered.
Yeah. I was.
You started the season in the youth team at Saltdean, done well. They got to their county cup final, so you were put in the reserves, did well. They reached their cup final, went into the first team, did well there. And can I just mention, you were at college and you were playing college football on Wednesday afternoons. And we counted it up and we reckoned you'd played 100 games.
Yeah,
which
no, it was over 100. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's ludicrous. I mean, it would never, it's just ridiculous. And Bob knew that. And as I say, the decision had been made. I don't know what Rhino Maka thought of your performance, but
no, it wasn't Rhino Maka. It would have been Billy. It was Billy Bonds.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Billy. It was Billy. Yeah, definitely.
In that case, Bob had already made the decision anyway. I think it was right at the end of Billy's time, wasn't it? And
no, I've got it. No, hold on. Let me get this. No, let's get this right. It was Doherty. It was Doherty because he was interim, and then Billy came in the next year, didn't he?
Yes, that's right.
So I think the doc had already been, or it was known that he was leaving at the end of the season. So obviously, probably it was Bob's decision solely. And then,
who was taking the reserves? Who took the reserves that day? I think it was Rhino.
God. I think it was Rhino. He was player coach. I think he was player coach then. Yeah.
Anyway, it was Bob's decision. Dennis came to me. I went to watch you. Immediately realised what you were. Got Bob involved. And as for you saying you'd had a non-league career, I think you're being incredibly modest there. You were unlucky. You didn't have an even more glittering career than you did, because there were one or two injuries. Yeah. There were one or two injuries at the end, weren't there? I think you had some injuries at Sheffield, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I think, looking back, Jeff, if I'm really honest, I think I wasn't mentally ready to do it at the top level week in, week out. I think you need to be, if you look at someone like Timmy was just so ultra consistent, and I think I was too up and down. I think that's why I was a Championship player rather than a Premier League player. I think on my best day, I could have played in the Premier League, no problem. But I just don't think I had enough days. Whereas you look at Timmy, he was 7 every week. I was 2, 8, 10, 6. I was all over the place. So I think that was that coupled with the injuries. I mean, if I knew what I knew now and could go back, it would be very different, I think. But I'm happy enough with how it went. It could have been worse.
Well, Paul, can I just say that's what we loved about you. I never knew what was going to come from yourself.
Nor did I.
Right out my seat. And quite a few times out my seat. Sometimes to say, look at that, and other times say, but
what are you doing?
It was a joy watching you, mate, I must admit.
Thank you.
And thankfully, West Ham have got no sense about players, because otherwise, two things would have happened if West Ham had taken you. One, you wouldn't be on this show, that's for sure. But, you'd have had a worse career than you've had anyway, mate.
Yeah.
He didn't amount to much, that Joe Cole bloke, anyway, did he?
No, I never heard of him again, eh? Yeah.
No, it's just the one volley against Sweden, isn't it, really? The rest of it we can forget about. Listen, Paul, as I'm sure you recollect, it's a tradition on the show for our guests to give a score prediction ahead of the next game, which is away in Cardiff this Saturday. They sacked their manager last week. Tom Bradshaw, still the lone striker. How do you think it's going to finish?
I think we're going to just squeak this one 2-1.
Love that. Positive prediction. Paul, an absolute pleasure to talk to you and hear your stories. Thanks again for coming on the show. Always a delight. All our best to Ellie and the children, Romy and B. Hopefully we'll hear from you again in the not too far distant future. All the very best.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Really enjoyed it.
All right.
Best of luck, Paul.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Catch ya. Bye-bye.
Fascinating that as well. I was doing a bit of reading about Paul there when he started talking about the hat-trick for Barbados. And I'm reliably informed, we'll have to ask him next time, that he had to retire from international football in 2010 because an official from the Barbados FA lost his passport, which is quite something. I can't say I've heard of that before, but there we go. Always
we'll have to do that one next time. We really will.
There's always a next time. Listen, we'll take a break there and listen to what Fantastic Fanatics offer both us and Millwall.
Hi, I'm Richard Gordon, and I'd like to invite you to become a Fantastic Fanatic. Fantastic Fanatics is a great way to raise funds for your sports club. Sign up today, find your club, and securely register your everyday debit and credit cards. Every time you spend with our retail partners, they pay a percentage back to your club. It costs you nothing, and you can win cash prizes along the way. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help your club be the best it can be.
I'm your host, Johnny Burrow, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin, and Jeff Burnige. If you want to get something in the sales, why not spend through the Fantastic Fanatics site and give a bonus to the Millwall Community Trust. It will help them deliver the very many activities that they do all across age groups in the community. Now let's hear from Ellis Barr.
Ellis here. Thank you for watching my videos. Now to hear what the Millwall Lion Esses and Romans have been up to, and to hear who is next up for Gary Rowett and the Lions. Come on, Millwall!
What a remarkable young woman. She recorded so many 11th birthday wishes on social media. It was incredible. Keep us posted with videos on what you're up to. And we've also, as we just heard, have some news from the Millwall Romans and Pride, and a Lionesses review and preview from our own Jeff Burnige. Jeff, over to you.
On Maritime Radio. On Sunday afternoon, Millwall Lionesses travelled to the Beauville Stadium on Maidstone Road in Chatham to face Gillingham women in the Kent Cup semi-final. Jeff Burnige was there and has this match report.
This is Jeff Burnige reporting for Millwall Lionesses. Sunday saw another classic cup meeting between Gillingham Ladies and Millwall Lionesses, this time resulting in an undeserved 1-0 defeat for the Lionesses in the Kent Cup semi-final. There was a sizable crowd at Chatham Town's ground, and Lionesses manager Jack Wheeler had some tricky selection problems, mainly due to the lack of football since December the 4th, due to postponements and the scheduled Christmas break. Some players were returning from illness and injury or missing through ineligibility, so he decided to start with 4 of his under-18s and a reconstituted back 4. And the Lionesses were immediately under pressure from the very organised Gills under new manager Dan Logue. The goal came on 18 minutes after a defensive indecision between the unfamiliar centre-backs and young keeper Serena Hand. It was scored by Gillingham's Breon Grant. Wheeler decided to bring on 3 experienced players in Otisha Charles, Jazz August and later Chloe Burr, and the Lionesses settled from then on and in fact had the better of the second half. In terms of chances created, significantly better. The referee was more lenient than most, and he was determined to let the game flow. This did favour the Gillingham team, who tend to be older and stronger, but the Lionesses put up a great fight before going down to that single early goal. They next face Worthing, their league leaders in the London and South East Regional League. That's away next Sunday. Gillingham go into the final of the Kent Cup, where they play Aylesford, who were the victors over Dartford.
Thanks very much, Jeff. We'll speak to you again soon.
Jeff, is there anything additional on that front since you last reported for Maritime Radio?
I think everyone's fit this week. There were a couple of new players who weren't able to play in that game. Shannon Drew, a left-sided front player who's a goal scorer. Steph Pacci, an Italian midfield player who's been sponsored by Giancarlo Sardi. And we have brought in another goalkeeper because young Serena was the only one we had. That'll be a selection issue for Jack Wheeler. Her name is Hope Smith. There we go to Worthing. I suppose Worthing probably slight favourites, but it should be a titanic game. We're having some good ones at the moment.
Fascinating. Thanks, Jeff. Now, Stan gave an overview of his thoughts ahead for the Lionesses last week. Ted, have you got any thoughts on the Lionesses game at Worthing this Sunday?
Yeah, I think it couldn't be a better game for them, to be quite honest. To be playing against the league leaders after the disappointment that's obviously occurred through the cup games is the ideal sort of game for them to pick themselves up. Probably does them a favour in them not being favourites, being the underdogs in a game like that. I mean, the disappointment will obviously come, but they shouldn't be disappointed with all these young girls that are coming through from the under-18s and the performances they're putting up week in, week out, especially against the bigger sides that they've played, like the Gillinghams of this world. They're having a fantastic season, and they're still, you know, as you can tell from what Jeff was saying there, 1 or 2 people coming in and 1 or 2 partnerships trying to form. They're sort of learning on the job as they go this season, and that. So all bodes well for them. I just hope that they get the win that I think their performances have deserved of late. So a nice win against the league leaders would be a fantastic boost for them.
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed on that front. We're going to be hearing from player chairman of Millwall Romans and Pride, Paul Loading, next.
Hi all, it's Paul Loading from the Millwall Romans with a quick update on what happened on Sunday. So it was the big derby on Sunday with Romans playing against Pride. A really big occasion. It was nice. It was a really good day. Luckily, it wasn't too rainy, and we had Pat down there, Pat Maslin, who has taken some lovely headshots of us and some nice team photos just to update for the season. So she's so good at it, and it was nice to have that as an occasion as well. I think tactically, I think Andy and the Pride team got it spot on. They set up really well, very in sort of defensive mode. We were struggling from Roman's side to actually break them down, and the balls were flying in. We didn't seem to flow very well. I think possession-wise, we Romans were top, but actually getting that final ball was the bit of the. It just wasn't seem to be working out for us. We did, however, score in the first half through Yosu, a bit of a wonder goal. It wasn't a good build-up play. It was a sort of 30-yard that was lobbed over Andy Dolan's head. I think from a Romans point of view, our plan at half-time was we almost needed to overplay. I think we were getting a bit frustrated in the first half because we couldn't, because they were, defence from the Pride point of view, they were playing really well, and I think we were getting a little bit frustrated trying to find space, and it didn't seem to work for us. And our tactic going in at half time was just overplay the ball. We needed to just not get frustrated, keep knocking it around the back if we go one side to the other, just to find them gaps. But overall, really good game. Really pleased and proud of Pride and how much they've developed. And it finished 2-0 in the end. This weekend, it's the rerun of last Sunday's game. So it's Romans versus Pride, 1:15 kick-off at St Paul's. I say hopefully it'll be another good test for both teams. This weekend, with Millwall away to Cardiff. Cardiff struggling towards the bottom of the table. I think it's time Millwall picked up some points. I'm going to say a very positive 3-0 Millwall.
Always fantastic to hear from Paul. Let's hope the Lionesses recover from their loss and get back on track to make that return to the National League. Now we turn to our third league game of the year on Saturday, away to Cardiff City, who sit in 21st place and are 3 points off the drop zone. They are managerless following Mark Hudson being sacked last Saturday after 4 months in charge. Assistant manager Dean Whitehead has been appointed as interim boss. They've drawn 4 of their last 5 league games, only losing to Blackburn away by a solitary goal. On the upside, they drew against Leeds in the FA Cup after leading by 2-0. On Tuesday, the replay finished 5-2 at Ellen Road. Leeds go through to the next round, and I must say Leeds looked by far the better side on that occasion. The best odds with the bookmakers are Millwall to win at 6-4. The draw is at 9-5, with Cardiff priced at 2-1 for the victory. The odds just about favour the Lions. Former Lion Marlon Romeo looks certain to miss the game with a hamstring injury, and there has been a bug doing the rounds within the Bluebirds squad. Hope it's not avian, but Joe Bagan will be available after being red-carded for his one-handed brilliant save, to be honest, against Leeds. Joe is a defender, so pulling out the classic Luis Suarez manoeuvre on that occasion. Tyler Burry, who took a bang to his hip against the Blades, will be subject to a late fitness test, as will Malone, who got a cut on his foot, which is causing him some issues, and Jake Cooper. Idomo Emarku remains sidelined with a damaged quad. So we got the odds on our side. We were unlucky not to get anything at Middlesbrough, but can we get back to winning ways, keep a clean sheet, and take advantage of a Cardiff side who, of course, have already played against Leeds midweek? Ted, can I have a prediction, please?
Well, I don't think it's as easy as that bit there makes it sound, because if you look at their last 5 games, 4 drawn and only that losing 1-0 to solitary goal. Listen, every time we go to Cardiff, it's always tough. It's that they ain't going to, never give anything away, Cardiff, to a certain extent. But I am confident that we can come through this one. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tight game, I think. But I think who scores first is going to win. But I think it was Paul Ifill's suggestion of a 2-1 win, and that's what I'll be going with, 2-1 to the Lions.
Fantastic. Just make sure a member of the Barbados FA doesn't now go and lose your passport. Stan, can I have a prediction from you too, please?
Well, I agree with Ted. It's going to be tough and it ain't going to be easy. But, I have to say, in all fairness, that if we're aiming for the playoffs, right, then we have to beat teams like Cardiff, And I'm not saying all we've got to do is rock up, but we need to, you have to beat teams like that. I mean, it's as simple as that for me. They haven't got another manager, and I suspect when they get one, he won't last long either. But anyway, you look at their record.
I'm not arguing.
Anyway, no, my view is I think we should win the game 2-0.
I'm always interested by sides when they've got an interim manager in place, because you question whether they're actually going to get a proper new manager bounce or whether they're just going to play like a team who don't quite have a manager. Jeff, what's your take?
I think we'll keep a clean sheet, which will be a big help. Dean Whitehead, the interim manager, he looked a haunted man when he was interviewed after the Leeds game and before the Leeds game in midweek. He obviously doesn't think he's got any chance of getting the job. So I think mentally, having played as well on Wednesday night, this is an opportunity for a win. It's whether we've got enough in forward positions to score 1 or 2 goals. I would expect Romain Esse to play a reasonable amount of this game. And wouldn't it be wonderful if he started his career by getting an assist or a goal at Cardiff? My prediction, Cardiff 0, Millwall 1.
Well, fantastic stuff. 3 wins predicted by the panel there. You heard it here first. And as Jeff says, nothing better to get a crowd going than seeing a young lad come up through the academy, really impress in the early days of his professional career. We'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Warren talking about how to sponsor or donate to the Millwall Community Trust.
The work of the Millwall Community Trust makes a big difference for people in Lewisham, Southwark and North Kent. Times are getting tougher, and to help them make a difference, you can help too, by making a donation. Give a one-off donation or a monthly amount. Your support is crucial in raising vital funds for their work, or by fundraising for them. If you are running, swimming, cycling, cooking, dancing, parachuting or anything else, why not do it for the Millwall Community Trust? Interested? Then either email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. I'll say that again. Email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. Thanks if you can.
I'm your host, Johnny Burrow, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. If you can do any of those things that Bethany mentioned, it'll go a long way to support the MCT in meeting the needs of the community. Now, our final guest tonight is a familiar voice on our Millwall fan show. He's a man I've got a huge amount of respect for personally. He's the one and only Sean Daly of the Millwall Community Trust, who wants to tell us about the unique Captain's Evening that takes place at the Den next Thursday and is in aid of the MCT. Evening, Sean.
Evening, Johnny. How are you?
Very well, mate. Lovely to hear your voice. Lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Now, lovely to be speaking to you as always. It's an exciting evening coming up. How are ticket sales going?
Up today, there was 200 sold up today. So that, before I left the ground this morning, I checked out, so it's 200. We're due to close tomorrow, but we might just extend it. So our capacity is 240. So I'd like to get as close as I could to that. But 200 so far today, which is really good.
Jeff Burnige here, Sean. Nice to speak to you.
Evening, Jeff.
I'm coming to that Captain's Evening. I booked my tickets a while ago. Very exciting thing to be happening. To get all those people in the Community Trust building in at one time. looks like being a brilliant evening. So I'm pretty sure by the end of the weekend that you will have sold out or near enough. Can you tell us and the listeners exactly who's involved and what we can expect from the evening?
Yeah, well, we wanted to do something different. So we're planning to do some events this year to profile the community trust. So we've reached out to a few people, ex-players that have played for Millwall, and we've just come up with the idea of we want to get something different, something unique, not just like some former players thing. So we come up with the idea of let's get as many captains as we could together and do an evening where they would talk about their experiences, the era they were in, some of the players they met. So we've got Les Briley coming, Steve Morrison, Stuart Nethercott, Paul Robinson, Andy Dunn, Tony Craig, and Alex Pearce. And the idea was just to get them in a room, talk about the players they've played with, and we're going to have a few questions coming out from the commentator, just asking him about him. But we're going to open it up to the floor, really, Jeff. It's an opportunity for the supporters to ask questions that they probably never get an opportunity to do. And then opportunities and photos. And then we've got some stuff to auction off. And then all the proceeds will go to the community trust.
It sounds great. I can't wait. Next Thursday.
Not at the Lion Centre, though. It's in the stadium. Upstairs, there's going to be sausage and mash when you arrive. And the idea is to keep it a nice, cheap price, affordable for everybody, but just a unique thing that we could put on in aid of the community trust.
Sean, Stan here, mate. How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, very well. And you, Stan?
Yeah, not bad. I'm so looking forward to this event. Me and my grandson will be there. How can people get hold of them tickets?
Yeah, so it's via the box office. There is a link as well. So if you contact that link via the box office, and then it's just to purchase the tickets there. There's going to be none on sale on the door because I just want to make it that everything's sold in advance, and then just everyone can enjoy the evening.
Sean's Ted here.
Hi, Ted.
Hello, mate. Just to let you know, I've started my training for the Centre Dash next year. I'm already had my suit on. That's about as far as I got, but I've got it.
Excellent.
I'm trying to fit in it. But I'm not missing this one either, mate. This is too good to miss, without a doubt. All these players there, the former players have supported this initiative. But when you did sort of mention it a little bit earlier, you're going to try and extend the ticket sales, are you, to a little bit closer to the date?
But I'm going to be speaking to the box office tomorrow and just say, look, let's extend it till we're sold out. Even if it's up to the day and we can sell right out. I'd rather the place was full with 240 than it to be, we could have sold those extra 40. So I will be speaking to the box office tomorrow to see if we can extend it and just see if we can sell those last tickets.
I think you're right too, mate. I'm sure they're go. It's just a matter of getting people to know when it's on, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've done a lot of social media on it, a lot of profile. I think people like Tony Craig and Danny are going to do a bit of social media themselves to get people there as well. I'm just looking forward to it. When we came up with the idea and we approached the 7 captains and we said, look, it's all in aid of the community trust. Not one of them said no chance. They all just went, yeah, no problem at all, no problem.
Well, it sounds a cracking event. If you're listening at home, make sure you get a ticket before time runs out. Now, Sean, as you know, all those who are present, including guests, are asked to make a prediction for the next Millwall game, which is, of course, away to Cardiff. How do you think that'll finish? Predicted score from you, please.
I'm going for a 1-0 win to us. I think we need to get back on winning ways, so I'm hoping for a 1-0 win.
Fantastic stuff. Sean, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We wish you all the very best with the captain's evening as well.
Thank you very much for that. Thanks for all your support. See you all on Thursday.
Yeah, see you, Sean.
Yeah, see you, Sean. Cheers, Sean.
Always great to hear from Sean. And additionally, a big shout out to Lucas in attaining the £1,500 book sales target for his Bone Man books in aid of the Greenwich and Bexley Hospice. I understand that is where his granddad spent his last days. Fantastic charity work from him. We will also get Sean back before long, and we will have an author, Mr. Lucas, on the show, hopefully too. Now, well done, Ted and Jeff, for supporting those book sales as well. We'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Warren. She's on The Loss of a Child and Sands United.
We know that some men can struggle to talk about how they're feeling after the death of a baby. We hope that by building trust and a common bond, by playing together as a team, many more will be able to break their silence about baby loss and help others to do the same. Sands United FC has already saved the lives of men left feeling like they had no one to turn to in their grief. Are you a father who has lost a child? Talk to Sands United. They will help. Contact them on sufclondon@gmail.com. That's sufclondon@gmail.com. They will help.
I'm your host, Johnny Burrow, and I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robinson, Stan Godwin, and Jeff Burnige with me tonight. Don't let the stigma attached to the perceived role of a father in the family hold you back in grieving for the loss of a child or at shortly after birth, and do access support. Sands United can and will help. Now, we're looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans.
As you have heard this evening, Millwall Football Club and Millwall Community Trust will host the first ever Captain's Evening at the Den on Thursday, the 26th of January 2023, from 7 till 10 p.m. in the 1885 Club. The night will see 7 former Lions skippers in attendance for a Q&A and more. Tickets cost just £10 per person, with all the proceeds going to the Millwall Community Trust. Tickets go off sale on Sunday, the 22nd of January. Additionally, on Saturday, the 4th of February versus Sunderland, we'll see the club hold its annual Memorial Day. That day will see the Lions honour all supporters sadly lost in 2022 by the way of a minute's applause plus their names on the big screen. The list of names will also be available to view in Millwall's match pack and on the Lions official Twitter account at Millwall FC on the day. If you have a Millwall supporting friend or relative who has sadly passed away in 2022, the club want to hear from you. Please send your loved one's name by email to slo@millwallplc.com. That's in small case by Friday the 27th of January.
Next Friday, we keep Johnny Burrow on board, and he will host the panel of a fawn between two roses in the form of, in the form of Dave, Bethany, and Debbie. There will be a review of our match in Wales and a couple of guests too. Additionally, call in all Dockers. Dockers Day will return for the first time since 2019 for our game against Huddersfield Town at the Den on Saturday, the 18th of March. Chris Bethel, the organiser, is looking for former Dockers from the London Docks who had a great tradition in following Millwall to come along as guests on the day. If you know someone who was, or if you were a Docker, please contact Chris by email at beths16@hotmail.com. I'll repeat that. It's BETHES in lowercase 16@hotmail.com. Or if you're on Facebook, you can contact Chris Bethel by messenger.
You heard from our sponsored Lionesses Jade Keogh and Grace Seeley right at the beginning of the show, so why not consider sponsoring a Lionesses kit like us to help to get them back to where we all know they belong, in the National League. If you're an organisation, you can get fantastic exposure opportunities for your business, just as Victory Goalkeeping Gloves, Andy Rothery, Impetus Women's Football, Megan, Jay and Lola Baxter, Gianluca Sardi, and as mentioned, our good selves on the Millwall Fan Show. On top of seeing your name on the club website, you'll be able to enjoy a range of benefits, including a signed shirt, a chance to meet your sponsored player, 3 invitations to a VIP Sponsors Day, a free season ticket to all home games, and a presentation photo with your player. kit sponsorship is priced at £160 plus VAT. To purchase either as an individual, a business or a group of friends, get in touch with the Lioness by emailing Kelly Webster on kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again, kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games, both home and away, for both the Lions and Lionesses, and also updates on Millwall Community Matters too on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, where we're getting a great following now, and Twitter, social media sites all across the board on popular podcast sites as well. Thanks all, and good night to Jeff.
Good night.
Thanks and good night to Stan.
Good night.
And last and certainly not least, good night, Ted.
And it's a good night from me.
A real pleasure to talk to all three of you again. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night and many thanks for listening to the No One Likes Us Talking team.